The crystal chandeliers shimmered like captured stars inside the grand dining hall of the Royal Meridian Hotel, their golden light pooling across immaculate tables dressed in white linen and silver cutlery. Laughter echoed through the air, refined, hollow laughter, polished by privilege and indifference. It was the sound of people who owned everything and forgot the weight of compassion. At the head of the room sat Victor Harrington, a man whose fortune was vast and whose arrogance was even greater. He was flanked by Sheikh Rashid, a royal investor from Dubai, whose calm presence contrasted Victor's booming theatrics. Before them stood a young waitress, trembling slightly as she clutched a basket of red and white roses. Her name was Mariam. She had come to America 3 years earlier, fleeing a world destroyed by war in Syria. Everything she had once known, her father, her home, her future, was left behind in smoke and ruin. And now she found herself the object of jest in a room full of opulence. Victor leaned back in his chair, his grin sharp and amused. "Sell me these roses," he said loudly, ensuring every guest could hear. "Sell them to me in Arabic, and I'll pay you $100,000. Laughter rippled through the hall again, shallow, glass-fragile laughter. Miriam froze, staring at the man who mocked her heritage for sport. Those roses had been nothing more than part of a small favor to earn a few extra tips, something to help her family survive another month. But as she looked into Victor's eyes, she saw cruelty disguised as entertainment, and something deep within her refused to bow. Taking a breath, she straightened her back. The sound of glasses and conversation faded until only silence remained. Her voice emerged soft and steady, wrapping around the still air like a prayer. "Buy these roses with love and hope," she spoke in Arabic. "Ashtari hadihi al-warda by hubban wa amal, layanaha tuhadith kalb alansan kabla aklihi." Because they speak to the heart before they reach the mind. The words hung between them, gentle, melodic, and heavy with meaning. The room stilled completely. The grand chandeliers seemed almost frozen in their shimmer. Sheikh Rashid's gaze softened. He recognized the poetry in her tone, the quiet nobility in her pain. Victor's grin faded, his amusement replaced by something unspoken and raw. Without a word, he reached into his jacket, wrote a check, and handed it to her. Miriam looked down, $100,000, real and trembling in her hands. Her lips parted, voice wavering as she said, "Thank you, but I cannot accept this." Sheikh Rashid placed a hand to his chest and said gently, "Then use it not for yourself, but for those who have lost their voice as you once did." That night, Miriam stepped out of the Royal Meridian, clutching the check against her heart as the cool wind rushed past, carrying the faint perfume of roses. She paused near a park bench, the city lights reflected in her tears. Memories of bombed streets and whispered prayers returned like haunting lullabies, but they no longer broke her. They reminded her how far she had come. Months later, she used part of that money to open a small community center for refugee women, a place of warmth and renewal. She called it the Garden of Hope. On its walls, she painted her favorite Arabic verse, "Min kul shaukatin tajar zara," from every thorn blooms a flower. Years passed, and the laughter that once stung her spirit turned into something distant, almost forgotten. Then one afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the windows of the center, Victor Harrington appeared again. His confident stride was gone. His face, older and humbled, looked almost uncertain. When their eyes met, silence filled the air once more. "You changed me," he said softly, his voice stripped of pride. Miriam smiled, the same quiet bravery still lingering in her expression. "No, Mr. Harrington," she replied. "You changed yourself the moment you decided to listen instead of laugh." They stood among the women learning to speak new languages, their laughter gentle and real. Around them, roses bloomed against the painted verse on the wall. What had begun as cruelty had blossomed into redemption. One arrogant challenge had become the seed of hope for many, reminding every soul that kindness, no matter how small, can grow into something vast and enduring. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Hope Fuse. Your small act of kindness helps us share more true and inspiring stories that remind the world to listen before judging.